Hello, everyone. I hope you are having a quiet and gentle moment today. Take a slow breath and let your mind settle for a moment. Have you ever felt tired while studying English, even when you did not study for a long time? Like your mind becomes heavy after just a few minutes? You try to focus, you try to continue, but something feels difficult. Your attention slowly fades, your energy disappears, and before you know it, you feel tired. Not physically, but mentally. And this feeling can be confusing because you did not do something very hard. You did not run. You did not use your body, but your mind feels exhausted. So you may begin to ask yourself something. Why do I feel so tired when I study English? Why does it feel so difficult to continue? Many learners experience this. They sit down to study. They open their material. They begin with focus. But after a short time, they lose energy. They feel distracted. And slowly, they stop. And this creates frustration because you want to improve. You want to continue, but your mind does not follow. Many people believe the answer is simple. They think they are lazy. They think they lack discipline. So they try to push themselves harder. They try to force focus. They try to continue even when they feel tired. But this often makes things worse. Because the problem is not laziness. The problem is mental load. When you study English, your brain is doing many things at the same time. It is listening. It is translating. It is trying to understand. It is trying to remember words. It is trying to connect meaning. All of this happens at once, and this requires energy. A lot of energy. This is why you feel tired. Not because you are weak, but because your brain is working very hard. Another important idea is unfamiliarity. When something is new, your brain must work harder to process it. It cannot rely on patterns. It cannot recognize things quickly. So it uses more energy. This is why English feels tiring, because it is not fully familiar yet. But in your native language, you do not feel this way because everything is automatic. Everything is familiar. Your brain does not need to work hard. This difference is very important. It explains why English feels difficult. Another key point is constant translation. Many learners translate everything in their mind. They hear English. They change it into their native language. Then they understand. This process takes time, and it uses a lot of mental energy. And when you repeat this again and again, your brain becomes tired. This is one of the biggest reasons why studying English feels exhausting. Another important idea is pressure. Many learners feel pressure when they study. They want to understand everything. They want to remember everything. They want to improve quickly. But this pressure creates stress, and stress increases mental fatigue. When your mind feels stressed, it becomes harder to focus. And when focus becomes difficult, you feel tired faster. Another key point is how you study. If your method is too difficult, your brain will resist it. If it is too heavy, your brain will avoid it. This is why some study methods feel exhausting, not because they are bad, but because they are not matched to your level. At this point, you may begin to see something clearly. The problem is not you. The problem is how your brain is being used. And when you understand this, something begins to change. Instead of blaming yourself, you begin to understand your process. And this understanding is important because it allows you to change your approach. to reduce pressure, to reduce effort, to make learning feel lighter. But there is still something important we need to understand. How can we study English without feeling so tired? How can we make learning feel easier and more natural? And this is where the story begins to go deeper. From understanding fatigue to changing the way you learn. Now that we understand why studying English feels tiring, we can begin to explore how to reduce this fatigue step by step. The goal is not to study more. The goal is to study in a way that feels lighter and more natural. The first step is to reduce mental load. When your brain tries to do too many things at once, it becomes tired quickly. So instead of listening, translating, memorizing, and analyzing at the same time, focus on one thing. If you are listening, just listen. Do not try to understand everything. Do not try to translate every word. Allow the sound to come naturally. This simple change can reduce a lot of pressure. The second step is to choose easier material. Many learners choose content that is too difficult. They believe difficulty means improvement. But this often creates fatigue. When something is too hard, your brain struggles to follow. And this uses more energy. So choose something you can mostly understand. Not perfectly, but comfortably. This allows your brain to relax. And relaxed learning is more effective than forced learning. The third step is to use repeated listening. When you listen to the same material many times, your brain becomes familiar with it. And familiarity reduces effort. The first time may feel difficult, but the second time feels easier, and the third time feels even lighter. This is how repetition reduces fatigue. The fourth step is to take short breaks. Your brain needs rest. If you study for too long without stopping, your energy decreases. So study for a short time, then take a break. Even a few minutes is enough. This helps your brain recover, and when your brain recovers, you can continue with more energy. The fifth step is to remove pressure. You do not need to understand everything. You do not need to remember everything. Learning is a slow process, so allow yourself to not understand sometimes. Allow yourself to be imperfect. This reduces stress. And when stress is reduced, fatigue also decreases. The sixth step is to create a comfortable environment. If your environment feels stressful, your brain becomes tense. But if it feels calm, your brain becomes relaxed. So choose a quiet place. Use comfortable audio. Create a space where you can focus without pressure. This helps your brain stay engaged longer. The seventh step is to change your learning style. If something feels too heavy, try a different method. Instead of studying rules, listen to simple stories. Instead of memorizing words, hear them in context. This makes learning feel more natural. And natural learning requires less effort. The eighth step is to listen without trying too hard. Many learners try to control their learning. They try to understand everything immediately. But this creates tension. So instead of controlling, allow the process. Let your brain absorb the language slowly. Trust that understanding will grow. Another important idea is balancing focus and relaxation. You do not always need strong concentration. Sometimes relaxed listening is enough. This allows your brain to learn without pressure. And this kind of learning is less tiring. Another key point is consistency. Studying a little every day is more effective than studying a lot in one day, because your brain prefers steady input, and steady input creates less fatigue. Another important idea is enjoyment. If learning feels boring, your brain loses energy. But if it feels interesting, your brain stays engaged. So choose content that you enjoy. Stories, calm voices, something that feels comfortable. This makes learning feel lighter. At this point, you may begin to notice something different. You feel less tired. You feel more relaxed. And learning becomes easier to continue. But there is still one important part left. How do we make this feeling last? How do we continue learning without losing energy again? And this is where the story moves forward. From reducing fatigue to building a sustainable way of learning. So now we come to the final part of this story. How can you continue learning English without feeling tired or losing your energy again? Because understanding the problem is only the first step. The real change happens when your learning becomes sustainable. The first step is to accept your limits. Your brain has a limited amount of energy. It cannot focus deeply for a long time. So instead of forcing long study sessions, choose shorter ones. Study for a small amount of time. Then rest. Then return again. This rhythm is more natural for your brain. The second step is to build a gentle routine. Do not make your routine too heavy. If it feels difficult, you will stop. So create something simple, something easy to continue. Listening for a few minutes. Repeating simple sentences. These small actions are enough, because consistency is more important than intensity. The third step is to reduce expectations. Many learners expect fast results. They want to improve quickly. But when progress feels slow, they become disappointed. And this disappointment creates fatigue. So instead of expecting big changes, focus on small progress, small understanding, small improvement. These small changes build over time. The fourth step is to protect your energy. Your energy is important. If you use too much at once, you will feel tired quickly. So learn to stop before you feel exhausted. Leave some energy for the next day. This helps you continue. The fifth step is to change your perspective. Instead of seeing English as something difficult, see it as something you experience, not a task. Not a burden, but something you hear, something you feel. This small change reduces pressure. And when pressure is reduced, learning becomes easier. The sixth step is to allow imperfection. You do not need to understand everything. You do not need to be perfect. You only need to continue. When you accept this, your mind becomes lighter. And when your mind is lighter, your energy stays longer. The seventh step is to enjoy quiet progress. Progress is not always visible. Sometimes it is silent. You understand a little more. You feel a little more comfortable. These changes are small, but they are real. When you notice them, you feel encouraged. And encouragement gives you energy. Another important idea is trust. Trust your process. Trust your brain. It is learning. Even when you feel tired, even when you feel slow, something is happening. Patterns are forming. Connections are growing. And over time, these changes become clear. Another key idea is balance. Do not push too hard. Do not stop completely. Find a middle point, a place where learning feels natural, a place where you can continue. This balance is the key to long-term progress. Another important part is returning. There will be days when you stop. There will be days when you feel tired. This is normal. Do not judge yourself. Just return. Every time you return, you make your learning stronger. Over time, something begins to change. You feel less tired. you feel more comfortable, and learning becomes part of your life. Not something you force, but something you do naturally. And this is the result of everything you have done. Not one big effort, but many small and gentle steps. So if you remember one thing from this story, remember this. Do not fight your brain. Work with it. Make learning lighter. Make it simple. And allow it to grow slowly. Thank you for spending this time with the story. And as always, see you in the next story.